Good morning, everybody. I'm Christina Sorrento. I'm the Chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for Butler Property. Your lead reviewer is Mark Beal. The purpose of this meeting is to ask any questions based upon the comments that you received, and Mark will highlight any of the major issues and then turn it over to the applicant. Go ahead, Mark.
Good morning. For the record, Mark Beal, Up County Zoning Planner. Today, it's my pleasure to bring to you the admin subdivision for the Butler property on Davis Mill Road. We have an existing farm parcel that they're breaking out a 48,000 square foot area as a lot for an existing house. No new work is proposed with this application. It's just creating one lot through the admin subdivision and then a leftover farm remainder parcel. This is for the applicants. So please ask any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Good morning, Dave McKee, Benning Associates. Thanks everybody for being here. I thought the Butlers might join in. I don't see them on the list here yet, but that's okay. We don't have a whole lot to talk about. Just a quick summary. This is the Butler Orchard, Butler Family Farm. This property is one of many pieces that they own out there. They have larger tracts adjacent where all the Butler Orchard operations go on. This property contains the farm market. If you're not familiar, in the, I guess, the northeast corner of the parcel, if you're part of the public visiting Butler's Orchard, you probably would go there and then go about doing whatever you might be doing that day. There's an old property, old home. There's a few buildings on the property, but in particular, there's an old home, old log cabin on the property right up on Davis Mill Road. That's the subject of this application. And it's been occupied by the Butler family since the 50s when they first bought the property and started operating out there. So it's long-standing family residence. It's currently occupied by Ben Butler, grandson of the original owners, his family. And the idea here is that the owners of the Butler's Orchard want Ben and his family to take ownership of that home. So that's really the purpose of this, is to separate that out from the farm parcel. They'll still operate the farm as Butler's Orchard. Ben is very much involved with that. And as Mark mentioned, we're not proposing to do anything to the property other than just create this lot. So with that in mind, the only real observation we noticed in the comments that we received has to do with dedication, which we're proposing to dedicate 40 feet, I believe, from center of the road. But that results in an awkward situation in that part of the driveway that's there, just a sliver, you can see it on the plan, and that is surveyed, ends up in the dedication. There's also a fence that runs along the entire frontage of the parcel. It's a split rail fence. It's up near the edge of the road. It might be helpful to look at a Google image if that's something you want to do, and I have that open. But anyway, DOT's comments, maybe transportation's comments suggest that we need to move the driveway. And obviously they'd prefer not to do that. It's something that's been there for a long time. So if there's any way around that, if we can find another solution that avoids having to do that, that's really the only topic that we wanted to talk about today.
I don't know if we can do a maintenance and liability agreement, Sam, a DPS writer for anybody in there regarding that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, before Deepak, can you refresh my memory?
I'll zoom in.
I didn't understand what Deepak was asking, and then Sam.
So, yeah, so basically, if you look at that driveway, right, it extends into where the cursor is. You see that the driveway is extending into the area of dedication. And
Yep.
there's also a fence as well in that area of dedication.
So you were saying, you were suggesting a maintenance and liability agreement for the improvements that are there that are would be now in the right of way?
Probably, yeah, could that work? I mean, I'm raising that question to DPS if that's something which can
I mean,
work.
That would be,
I mean,
that would be.
as we have discussed before, if the fence is part of the rustic character of the road, Davis Mill Road, and it's been concluded as such by Rustic Road Advisory Committee, then we could get a maintenance liability agreement for it. But if not, we would rather that fence to be removed before the dedication.
And this driveway as well, correct? You look at the driveway which extends into the right of way, the dedication portion.
This little piece right here.
Deepak, and Sam, this is Atik. I don't have any problem with, signing a maintenance and liability agreement since the fence is existing. We can accept it as existing. If ever the road is going to be widened, then that fence has to be, relocated on private property. The driveway also could be incorporated into that, maintenance and liability agreement. That should not be an issue at this point. They're existing and they're dedicating the right of way that may or may not be used in the future.
Yeah, appreciate that, Atik.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. We appreciate that too, very much.
Is that
Okay.
all you had, Dave, or you got anything else?
That is really all I had. I just want to also confirm, this is administrative subdivision, so I don't anticipate any hearing. Is that correct? We just proceed on and get our approvals lined up and then move about getting the final approval?
I'll confirm that, but I think that's the way we're leaning, but I will confirm that in the next couple of days, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Mark, we still have a few days before like the public can weigh in because we have the
Yeah.
50-day, but
Right, I think we just have to make sure that someone doesn't come and object here in the next few days.
Sure. Very good. That is all I had for this one.
All right.
the rest of us, like for the resubmittal and all that kind of stuff.
Sorry about
Do you
that.
have the schedule like for the resubmittal?
I don't.
No worries.
I'll get you the schedule too, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll circle back and touch base on that.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Dave,
Thank you.
the schedule for your next,
He's
he's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone.
All right.
Thank you.
Schedule for his next project. Push more.
What?
Just me.
the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for Kavanaugh Family Parcel. The lead reviewer is Jonathan Casey. The purpose of this meeting is for the applicant to ask any questions based upon the comments he received. I'll have Jonathan highlight any of the major issues we should talk about and then turn it over to the applicant. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Good morning. I'm Jonathan Casey, Up County Planning. This is Kavanaugh Family Parcel, and this is a property that's going to be essentially recorded through the legacy provisions of the zoning ordinance under the prior rural zone. Staff really doesn't have any issues with this application. We have a few minor comments. But Mr. McKee, you have any concerns, anything you want to discuss?
Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you. Not too much. I guess maybe we could go through the area transportation comments. Those are the main things, I guess, and maybe starting with the fee in lieu for the frontage improvements, I guess, for Damascus Road. How are those calculated? And I'd just like to have a number that I can go back to the applicant with and let them know, what they're looking at for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, this is Katie Mancarini. So Dave, Florence made these comments. She's out today, but I'm covering for her, no sweat. So we have a policy in place that allows certain properties such as these to be exempt from the construction, but there is a fee. So there's a fee for the sidewalk and a fee for the bike wheel strollers on one of the flows. I can send you the cost, the fee per linear foot. And that is based on a planning board policy that was established in 2021. I can also provide that to you as well.
Yep, perfect. That's just what I'm looking for. Okay, sounds good. We have a little bit of a quirk with this property that was mentioned a few times, and we have a driveway that's already out there. So there's a small barn on the property that's operates kind of as a small market for honey. And there's actually beehives on the property, kind of in the eastern corner of the property, right there. So it's been there for a long time. I look back through aerial photos. It goes back to the early 90s. That seems to be when that barn and the driveway came to be. So the driveway comes in Damascus Road and goes out Hipsley Mill or the other way, vice versa. So it's kind of a loop there. And oddly, it goes through that piece there that's owned by Montgomery County at the corner, which is a parcel. It's not right away. To our knowledge, there's no easement. The owner just states it's always been there. So always been there means, 30 plus years, early 90s. She's mentioned that school buses use it for queuing maybe, or whatever they need to do there. So just wondering what the thoughts are on that. I noticed the comments. I guess our preference would be, the thought is maybe the honeybee operation will continue, even if the home, gets built or property gets sold. And so it kind of would be part of that. So I guess ideally we'd just like to keep it the way it is. Didn't know if there were going to be conditions that indicated otherwise.
I mean, this property is zoned AR, so, that kind of use is encouraged. But ultimately, we do defer to DOT and DPS right of way as far as the access points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not find any records for any kind of easement along that for that access point as well. I know it's owned by the county, so that could be closed when that property comes in for development, or when it could be used for something, or maybe right of way at the end of the day. So there's kind of some kind of alignment change or anything, which is probably not going to happen because of rustic road. So
Right.
It is used as of now. I would just leave it alone, I guess, unless DPS has any thoughts on this.
We're talking about the driveway off of
Hipsley Mill.
Hipsley.
Yeah, Hipsey Mill, yeah.
Okay, I mean, if I could, we defer to you. I mean, did you say that you're okay for the driveway to stay?
Yeah, it's been used. It's there. This property needs access too. the property,
Yeah.
the county property, that's been accessed through this driveway. So there is a connection out there between the two lots, but at the end of the day, if this property, the county property comes in for development, it could be closed. I mean, this.
Yeah.
I would
says
say
no.
that, Deepak, did you talk to anybody about it, like
No.
on DGS?
No.
I think we need to just confirm that they're okay with the driveway remaining. I'm sure they would. They might want an easement or something else on there. I'm not sure. So you said the driveway was created in the 90s. Was there any permits or anything issued for that?
I didn't
Or
look for
would
any
there-
permits. I just looked through aerial photos to kind of see when it came to be. I mean, so I don't know about permits.
Right. So I think we need to talk internally to DGS and maybe our attorneys and see if there's anything that we need to do. We might need to get some kind of easement. And
Yeah.
some other agreement from you guys. So,
Okay, that'd be good, sure.
Did you ask for site distance, Rebecca?
Yeah, we did site distance there. We checked both. I believe we
Okay,
did, yeah.
It meets our safety requirements, correct? Dave?
Yes, it does, yeah. Yeah, I think maybe we need some updates on those forms, but everything looks okay there.
And Dave, as far as schedule goes, I put
Yep.
the schedule in as one of the change marks. And
Yes,
that
installment.
schedule is actually will be the same for the property we just discussed.
Sure, Okay.
And because this property is larger than 5 acres, it will have to go to the board. It can't be done administratively.
right, understand. Jonathan, I wanted to mention, you had a couple of comments about the deeds and the deed history, and I'll get back to you on those.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we exchanged a couple of emails on that. I don't have a whole lot of information about that one piece that you're seeing on the old tax map,
I
so.
scoured the records that I have available pretty thoroughly, and I can't find
Yeah.
any mention of it, but it's on the old map, so we gotta at the very least look into it.
Okay, will do. All right, that's all I have for today.
All right,
Schedule or anything.
thank you all.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
You're
That's all I'm
generic
saying.
corn fed. If you think you're special.
Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for the Blairs. Your lead reviewer is Saquon Gatlin, and the purpose of this meeting is for you to ask any questions based upon the comments you received. The meeting is being live streamed and recorded. I'll have Saquon go over any of the major issues we should discuss and then turn over to the applicant. Go ahead, Saquon.
Okay, thank you, Saquon Gatling here. I won't go over the proposal, but I will just say for the record that these changes are all associated with the interim use previously approved with the Blair's master plan for everyone's reference. The major comments included a number of fire and rescue concerns to clarify compliance and access, as well as clarify the LOD just to ensure the scope of the amendment is properly shown and not confused with previous plans. Parks had a comment to consider paving the proposed sod path as it provides access to current amenities, which are already connected to by paved trails currently, and to just address any ADA access implications if it's not paved. We also had comments to clarify bike parking needs. And there were community concerns I shared with the applicant today that came in this morning regarding the changes to parking and the reduction of parking numbers there. And also the changes to the green space proposed with the pad site. I also want to note, one of my comments was the current review period ends on a Wednesday, so we'll need an extension request just to make sure you're able to get to the board on a Thursday. But we'll talk about that with the schedule. And I'll just turn it over to you for questions.
Thank you. So you hit many of the things on our list, but I think we had a couple of others. So we'll go through that. And then I do want to end up with the extension request to get some clarification on that. So good morning. I think everyone, many people in this room are familiar with this project, but this is an amendment for the Blair's master plan property, which if people are not familiar is approved under a preliminary plan and a project plan for about 30 acres that contemplates development over in stages over a say 20-year or so period in phases. The last amendment to the Blair's master plan approved an interim retail building that would be in one of the future development sites. So until such time as that piece is ready to go forward, we have interim retail, and that was, I think, amendment B. This amendment is C, and the context is proposing a small expansion, I think 1,000 some square feet, to the approved building that's not yet built, and then to allow an alternate configuration if it has a veterinary use, which is a tenant that the applicant has been in conversations with. So that's the context. No major changes proposed, but limited changes to the approved but unbuilt building with the last amendment. I think the first matter should be quick, but when we received the DRC comments last week, there were a number of reviews that were listed as incomplete. And we don't know if we had reached out to Neil about that, and he said nothing further. He didn't know if there were other comments coming. So we just wanted to confirm, because we're going to be moving forward with getting a resubmission together. Is what we have kind of what we're going to receive, and should we proceed, or do we need to?
It should be. I mean, if it's incomplete, it means they've missed their deadline to give you a comment.
Okay, so that's good. So that's helpful.
Big Fund does not, we don't, like the other agencies outside of us, we don't have any control of when they
Yeah.
put their comments, and obviously they should, but they should. But
Okay.
from us, or you guys.
Okay. Fire and rescue, Mike, I don't know if there's anything specific there, but we know that there were a number of comments on that issue, and we were planning to contact Marie, I think.
He's on right now.
Okay, so Mike.
Yeah, hey Marie, so we are looking through and addressing your comments. I think we're gonna reach out to you and set up an aside meeting to go through them. I know that there were some minor changes to the previous kind of layout in that area, but it didn't seem like it was that significant. So hopefully it's just a matter of getting you some more information in general, and we can be comfortable with the plan again.
Yeah, to me, it just looked like a lot of cleanup. I didn't see anything that jumped out as impossible to deal with. So I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Marie.
Great. I think that takes us to I think we can probably go to the comment about the sod pad. So, do we have Parks?
Didn't seem to be on, but what were your comments to this comment?
I think that, while we understood the comment, we see some concerns with being able to actually do some paving in that area, and I think we maybe want to run through a couple of the things that we see and potentially look at.
I mean, the biggest thing is just that, when we did the mulch path, it was supposed to be pervious, right? And then if we make it into an asphalt path, it definitely would be I don't want to say a significant amount of imperviousness, but I think that it would seriously have potential for stormwater ramifications. And that would be pretty difficult to retrofit some of those stormwater facilities to allow for that additional imperviousness. So, I mean, that's our biggest concern. And I guess we would just ask that we.
It's on now with parks. Henry, there's a concern with parks that the applicant wanted to discuss.
Sure. Thanks for calling me in. Just joined those, so you'll have to catch me up. Sorry.
So regarding the sod paths that we were talking about using instead of the mulch, changing it over to an asphalt path, we're very concerned that it would have some stormwater ramifications. We've got all the facilities built already. The mulch path was pervious, and we wanted to maintain it as a pervious surface instead of doing asphalt.
Okay. I think those are understandable concerns, and I think mostly what Parks is sort of requesting is that you include information about that. I guess in the SOJ, write that up, and also if you can address kind of looking at it, our concern about it had to do with how ADA access is being provided to those facilities that the trails go to, considering that there's some other ones. So not looking to overly push the issue, but to make sure that it's properly explained.
Okay.
Like there are ADA surface treatments that aren't paved, right? That are acceptable, like there are certain types of like gravel that can work with ADA accessibility, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the Water Resources group is on, but I think they'd probably tell you that those are all considered impervious as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here, Mike, and they are. You're right. This is Mark Etheridge with DPS. They would be considered impervious if they're gravel.
Thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Yeah, and you guys, there may well be a perfectly fine explanation for the ADA access and how everything works with going to sod. We just want to make sure it's documented. So.
Okay. All right, we'll work together to come up with an appropriate response.
Great, thank you guys.
Thanks, Henry. I think if we can turn to the transportation comments. The first two, I think, we can tackle together, but the bike parking requirements and then the short term and the long term. What's cited here is the current bike parking standard, but this application is an amendment to the Blair's master plan site plan. It goes back to the old ordinance and the old standards. And we have a condition in the last site plan about bike parking.
Okay.
And so I believe that the plan that as submitted is responding to the condition of the site plan approval. And that's sort of what we were following. So I didn't know if this was just clarifying this in our resubmittal, maybe restate what the condition is and what we're working.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I think the tricky part here too, so I know the long-term parking was a matter of how it's accommodated, and we would want that to be in the current standard. So like a blocker is not acceptable. We want something more substantial than that. But it's still the same quantity as I think was previously required. We can double check with that. And then the short term, if it's an equivalent size, because it's a similar size pad site to what was approved before, right? Then we can go with the same quantity of short term. But again, we would want them to be URECs. We want them to be located appropriately. because we have different bike parking standards that is not just in the zoning code, it's also in our bike master plan, which you have to come into conformance with. So it's form over quantity in that respect.
So with like a retail application like this, like, what do you usually see that would meet the,
Yeah, so-
not do the bike lockers? Cause that's the,
Yeah, so the long term is really more for the employees. So if you have a space inside the building that is secure for the bike, that would be acceptable for long term.
you know, I'm not sure we know the tenant enough.
What do you typically do when it's just a building shell and you don't have a tenant yet?
Yeah, so I mean, like in this case, you probably have like an employee, maybe there's like an employee break room or a place where they have their own lockers or some sort of space. Like it would be great if we could have, maybe it's an upright place where they can put the bike, or just like an area where there's enough space for a bike to be horizontal, but it needs to be secure and protected from the weather elements.
Right, I guess the question is, since we don't have any tenants, we're essentially delivering a shell to be leased in the future.
Yeah.
We don't have control over that room, you know what I mean? That'll be part of the tenant fit out, so I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way, just if there's another path essentially to figure that out.
Well, I mean, it's either that or you're constructing a cage outside, which I think is probably more than you want to do. So yeah, I mean, I haven't had any problems with this before where there's going to be some sort of employee break room or an employee place that's secure.
But we obviously have to go and look at this and try to figure out, you know, how, if we have any issues with accommodating that kind of room. But could it be a condition that, you know, if you don't show it on the plan today, but you say the building will accommodate a, you know, minimum sized bike storage facility? I mean, is that something that you can work with, or?
Yeah, no, we can work with that. I mean, like that's generally what we end up doing is we get something on the certified site plan that says something is going to be on the inside. And we talk about like what it has and what it won't.
That doesn't go to the can we fit it without any issues part, but that goes to the sort of the timing part, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's noted on the certified site plan and like dimensions, like minimum dimensions and requirements, then that's something that a building permit DPS can.
Yeah, and we can tie it to UNO. I mean, we don't need it before then.
So we have.
So I have a question, sorry. Well, what if the prior sorry, this is Charles, if I could, the prior resolutions, if they specified allowing short-term or bike lockers to count as long-term parking?
Yeah, I don't love, I think that doesn't conform with the bicycle master plan, and I wrote that, so it's my fault. But yeah, no, I think that there's no grandfathering for master plan conformance, and that's in direct conflict with the bicycle master plan.
so that condition will be amended as part of this.
Exactly. Thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
And the short term, like, I mean, Mike, you always find really good spots for him, but like, we're looking for something close to the front entrance, not near a dumpster, that kind of thing. You're so good at it. I know you're creative. You'll find a great, beautiful spot that's perfectly sized.
I'm sure we
Not worried about it.
So we'll take a look at that, and then if we need, you know, to talk about it, we can reach out.
Of course. Yes.
The second half of the transportation comments are on ADA compliance. And
Yeah.
I think FICA had some questions about that. I think
just more clarity would be good.
Yeah.
What the concerns are.
I think it'll be helpful. So when I've done this with other civils, it's including you in the past, just like if we can take 15 minutes and just like walk through, because like what Florence and I are not a huge fan of is there's a lot of these like diagonal crossings that are kind of like wonky, and I understand where you're trying to fit things in, but it makes it so that the exposure is longer than it needs to be. The vehicles are kind of seeing you at an angle. It's not as, you know, clear. So, and it also looks like in some cases you have some ADA spaces that are really close to an entrance and some that aren't. And so we would like to kind of tighten that up a little bit.
Okay, all right, I'm sure we could do a little work session. That's
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know that we would be able to change the existing ADA spaces, but the ones that we're proposing.
Yeah, I think we just want to get the ones that you're proposing a little bit closer in some cases so that we're not having like that weird diagonal one up in the upper left is kind of.
That crosswalk you don't like, right?
No.
Yeah, I get that. But those ADA spaces that are near it, those are existing.
Yeah, but aren't they serving the other building over there? So maybe we could put some ADA spaces closer here that are more like at a perpendicular angle. Yeah. So like, so you see those ADA spaces, those are existing. Those would, I think, be more likely to use it here or there. And so maybe if we bring the crosswalk closer, that would be more intuitive, both for the driver anticipating an ADA space. Yeah, coming down, yeah, if we. Saquon, do you have the cursor?
Yes.
Do you mind helping me out a little bit? Yeah, bring it, yeah, so instead of having it diagonal up there, because like, I think those ADA spaces are not as intuitive to the front. I think bringing the crosswalk closer to where the ADA spaces that are located. Yeah,
That way.
you feel me? Yeah. Yeah, and then maybe it's that, yeah, that's what I would recommend. Tighten that up a little bit.
Katie, who should we reach out to coordinate?
Yeah, please reach out to Florence. So I'm filling in for her today because she's in a training. That'd be great. So Florence and Saquon will, and she'll tag team me if she needs me, but.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
We had a comment about kind of the master plan and sort of addressing this for the planning board's benefit. This seems like it's gonna be not hard to do. We'll prepare kind of a supplement to go behind the statement that just kind of lays out kind of some of the relevant considerations the board needs to look at. There was a like a PowerPoint way back when with the project plan and the preliminary plan, and this may in fact be helpful to kind of be, you know, because if you look at the master plan, I think it just says in 4 spots, support the redevelopment in accordance with the Blair's master plan. So I think we can provide a brief explanation and then maybe, you know, bring these exhibits back to kind of explain some of the context for them. Because I don't think the master plan itself goes into a deep dive on.
Yeah, what we did for the previous site plan amendment too, when we added this interim
Yeah.
use. I mean, it's gonna be similar.
Yeah, I just went through that staff report.
Then,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah,
we had
it shouldn't be any different.
we had like there was like an explanatory paragraph or something in the staff
Yeah.
report, and I'm envisioning it's that.
That's
It's
it.
just a supplement.
Yeah.
So we can get that to you. The question about the extension, I'm not recalling why, but there was something amiss with the first.
I didn't send Saquon the updated letter. That's on me.
Yeah, right. So there's an updated letter.
January 2nd is when it times out.
Right. So-
However, in all likelihood, the board is not going to be meeting January 2nd.
Right. So we wanted to see, do you want to proceed under this and see how it's going, and we get closer, we do the extension if we need to do the extension, or because the 8th is no longer the issue.
Yeah, I think that's fine. But knowing like I mean, the week before that is a holiday, so the
Yeah.
board's not gonna be meeting that, so then that's 2 weeks that I'm not sure if agency and staff can pick up.
Yeah.
So that's why pushing it a week to the 9th is I think what we were suggesting.
Yeah.
But as we get closer, that's now if you guys are really ahead of things and we can make it work, then we will, but if not, then just do a internal 30-day director
Sure.
level.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
And there's a deadline ultimately that staff usually needs to get those extension requests in by, so maybe we circle back on this when we get closer to November. and figure
Yeah, it'll
out-
be like beginning of December, we'll have to figure that out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Oh, I think unless there are any other comments on any of the site specifics, the site plan things, I think we wanted to ask about or explain a little bit more about the building facades. So, do we have anything else in the site plan?
No.
I think that's it. So I think this is kind of our last issue. I don't know, Pedro, if you want to share some of the materials, but on the comment about consider art/murals or facade treatments, we'd like to speak on that for a few minutes because we have some concepts for that are kind of built into the planning, but I don't know if they were technically part of what was submitted with the application. So
You guys have the flat elevations, is that correct? Is that the only thing you saw?
Yes, I can pull that up.
Okay. You didn't have any of the 3D renderings that show the entire building essentially?
No, I'm not seeing that in our plans files.
But yeah, I guess, good morning, I'm Pedro Salas with BCT. Yeah, we've really designed this building as a 4-sided building. We realized that It is very much visible from all locations. The rear of the building obviously faces the existing office building, which the tower company also owns. So we were very cognizant about making that an attractive facade and bringing the materials around, the sides and the back. Similarly, we spent a lot of time and energy on the trash enclosure to make sure that it was, fully enclosed and also not visible from the rooftops, especially the high-rise residential. So essentially, we've designed it as a fully enclosed part of the building so that people didn't look down from it, and it was kind of carrying the same materials. But the back of the building, again, there is a grade difference that we are playing with. So there's a pretty extensive ramping system that I apologize, you guys. I know you don't have these renderings, but there is a pretty significant, grading, ramping that we have to address. But we've carried all the materials, around the back of the building, including the wood siding, including the brick and the metal panel. So the materials you see on the front, including what's on the right-hand side adjacent to the dumpster, the brick that's on the left-hand side, they all come around the back of the building and the sides. And then we're even going to the extent of putting in glass doors in the back of the buildings. Those would be egress doors for future tenants as we get tenants into the building. The darker two doors that you see in the middle are essentially electrical and water rooms. So those are, we need some screening in there, but the other ones we're hoping that they would be kind of transparent so that as the office users who are using that entrance to come into the building, get to, see a really nice experience as part of their walkout. Yeah.
Then I think in addition, on top of kind of the facade elements, we would have the signage and kind of branding piece that goes in after construction. So, and that's not really shown. But what we were thinking was with the resubmission, I think we would address, provide some more explanation of this and what the ideas are. And I think that would probably be part of our package if that sounds like the appropriate way to go.
I think that works. Our urban design team was focused on the blank areas and just making sure that there'd be something of interest there so that signage you mentioned and all these elements would discuss in the submission.
Yeah, this is Paul Mortensen. I'm Senior Urban Design at Director's Office. I understand that this building is a temporary interim use on the greater master plan site. But it is, essentially right across what you're creating as a new street, sort of as I'm putting quotes around that street facing the office building on the other side. And so it is an essential, and it's very nice that you've enclosed the trash areas. It's very nice that you're pulling materials around. It still is a blank wall. And I just think that if, the signage will help. The windows in the doors certainly help a little. I just think that there needs to be some, kind of love given to this back elevation so that it isn't perceived as a blank wall, back elevation to the office that's literally right across the street. And that's their front. And so that's all. I don't think we're making a huge ask here to change things. And I think it's just, some touches that just give it a little bit of character and interest is all we're really asking for.
Noted. I think with that, unless we have any other questions, I think that's really the end of what we wanted to go over, and I think we've hit everything.
I just wanted to circle back and remind that I did send you the community correspondence we got this morning based on the ANCs just adjacent or over the DC line about the parking concerns.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. That just came in and we haven't had a chance to review it yet. I would say that parking here is provided per the former ordinance, I believe, and I don't think it has ever been updated to go under the current. And if it were to be, the parking requirements would actually be a lot fewer than what they are. But we'll take a look at what they've sent in.
Okay, sounds good.
The parking is the easy part.
Yeah. Okay. With that, I can tell you the schedule. So based on the updated date of September 4th, your first resubmittal will be due on October 10th. With the final resubmittal as needed will be due on October 29th. And agency letters for all those listening will be due on November 18th. And We'll be in touch December, first week of December, discuss that we need an extension request or not to get that planning board date.
I think there's a real chance that we resubmit and good. And then we can pull that planning board date so that it's before the holidays. That way you guys aren't doing a staff report over the holidays.
That would be great.
Great. I don't think we have anything else, but we appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
I'm the Chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for Radwick Lane property. Your lead reviewer is Parker Smith. And the purpose of this meeting is to ask any questions that, based upon the comments that you received. It is being live streamed and recorded, and I will turn it over to Parker.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Welcome. So this project we know has sort of been kicking around for a while now. And we're really glad to see this come back in again. We'd love to see something happen here. We would love to get as much housing as we can feasibly fit on this property. We also know that the site is very constrained, and we can glean some of those constraints from the plans, but part of this meeting is to hear some of those constraints from your end as well. So yeah, we're just really here to listen to your perspective and work with you on a path forward. We already have a meeting scheduled for next week to further discuss a way forward to develop this property. On the screen, this is a concept that Natasha sketched up for us. It's more or less a version of your option 2, I believe. So yeah, happy to answer any questions you have about the comments we provided.
Great. Thank you very much for having us. I'm Françoise Terrier, Land Use Counsel for the applicant, accompanied by the applicant. Want to say hello? Hi. Marcello Nucci, and also 2 project engineers. You guys want to say hello?
Morning, Brandon Fritz with Kim Engineering, Civil Engineering.
Tim Tropsler, Kim Engineering, Landscape Architect.
And Karen Carpenter is also with us online, land planner with the same firm. So it's clear from the comments we need to focus on the option with 2 driveways. So we'll do that. There are some big issues to address, and I figured we would identify them here and see what we can get through in half an hour, and then pick it up in more detail on Tuesday. 3 big questions: shared driveways versus private road, frontage improvements, and the open space impact. So shared driveways versus private road. Planning staff suggests 2 shared driveways, with the longer driveway intersecting Radwick directly across from the bend in Radwick Lane. And the applicant can do this, although it will have impacts on the site layout. Pushing the road further north will mean that lot 6, which we had tried to show as a standard lot, has to become a flag lot, because there just won't be enough room to have the stormwater management parcel and frontage for lot 6. So we will end up with 3 flag lots, 2 lots without frontage, 1 standard lot. Or maybe 2. I guess maybe lot 2 stays as a standard lot. Yeah, sorry. So 2 standard, 2 flag, 2 without frontage. DOT suggested that one of these driveways needs to be a private road. And we weren't clear on exactly what was the intention behind that.
No, we did not comment on this particular sketch in front of us. We said that if it is a 6 lots, it has to be more than 4 lots. It has to be a street and not a driveway. That was my comment.
So if we divide it into 2 driveways, DOT is okay with them being driveways.
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
As long as the driveway has 4 lots max.
Right, we would have 1 driveway with 4 lots and 1 driveway with 2. So
Yes.
That's great when we can put the private road issue to bed, which I think probably reduces the blood pressure of everybody on this side of the table. Frontage improvements. DOT called for 6-foot sidewalk and a 2-foot buffer strip, which would be very challenging here, partly because half the frontage almost is in a stream valley buffer. And of course, the site is very constrained. There also was the possibility of fee in lieu suggested in the comments. We think it's justified by the environmental impacts as well as grading. Assuming a fee in lieu is approved, how would the amount of the fee be calculated?
So it will be based on whatever is going to be constructed over there, the construction. Basically, you have to come up with a cost estimate for the entire frontage construction. But I need to see the plans before I can say if fee in lieu is acceptable. I need to see something.
And what would that something need to be, we did submit plans, like a concept plan. So what additional detail do you need?
I need a cross section, and also if there are environmental impacts, then I need to see a written justification where the environmental impacts are. If we can fit the swale and the sidewalk with a reduced right of way, that's something we can look at. For that, I need a cross section.
Cross section showing a sidewalk or cross section of what we propose?
With the sidewalk as well as the swale. If we can fit that, it's an open section, correct? So if we can fit that within a reduced right of way, I would like to see that. If not, I mean, if it's going into the stream valley buffer, then you have to show that in the cross section where the stream valley buffer is. It may not be one section, it may be two different sections, one of the stream valley buffer and one with outside the stream valley buffer. So that's something which I need to look at.
When you say two sections, I'm sorry, do you mean like there might be a piece of the frontage that we could put a sidewalk on and a piece where we don't?
No, I mean to say that if we can reduce the right of way at the stream valley buffer and get the sidewalk within that reduced right of way, I would like to see, once I see the cross section, that's the only way I can figure that out.
So you're thinking like a narrower sidewalk, maybe you don't have to go to the full 6 feet.
Not the narrowest sidewalk, narrowest right of way.
All right, I guess we can discuss this more next week.
Yes.
Maybe Brandon and Tim understand this better than I do.
I think we just need to see that the swale and the sidewalk and the maintenance buffer can fit in the whatever right of way is being proposed. The existing right of way, great. If there needs to be dedication to show that the whole thing can fit. I think the question is mostly on the swale.
Okay. All right. I don't know that we can do that by Tuesday,
Take a look at it.
but we can at least talk about it. All right. So the question then, the calculation of the fee would be up to us. So should we be going to DOT's, the estimator for bond payments for like, here's what a sidewalk costs, here's what a 2-foot swale costs?
So it'll be the construction cost. It's not the bond cost.
Right, but I understand there's an estimator tool that, you can get some estimates for certain kinds of construction. What I'm trying to get at is, do we need to come up, does the applicant need to expend money getting a formal estimate from its engineers with a detailed drawing, or can we use sort of, here's what the county has as a generic cost for sidewalk?
You can use the LATR fee cost, which is that Excel sheet, and submit it to us. I'll have to run it past our DTE people. I can get back to you. So that would be the starting point. You can use that LATR cost estimate stuff, which Park and Planning has.
Okay. So we also wanted to chat about the open space location, which obviously staff has suggested as a linear open space along the shared drive. The applicant thinks that it would be better for this community if we changed the shape a little bit of lot 4, which it's hard to see on this drawing, which is quite different, but if we change the shape based on the drawing we submitted, you could make a more squarish kind of shape that would really be more usable than a linear area along the sidewalk. And it could have, space for benches, a gazebo, some features like that. And it's, it's not a big community, so it's not far from anybody. And there could be a little path, a footpath between the shared driveway and that open space. See how lot 4 kind of, it gets sort of oddly shaped and skinny? That oddly shaped and skinny part, if you took that out of lot 4 and put it in an HOA parcel, well, then you get sort of a reasonably sized area there that people could actually use. And the applicant thinks that would be, you know, a nicer feature for the community. Let's see.
Just to touch on that, I think that's, I think that we're largely open to that idea. We would just need more sort of fleshed out details of what it would look like, and obviously there's a concept plan and that would come in the future. Yeah.
Okay, it also, you know, carving more space out in the middle for that open space might end up having to push into further into the forest save area in order to have lots that have, you know, a reasonable amount of backyard, because I know everybody on that side of the table knows what happens when people don't have a very reasonable sized backyard and they butt up to a forest conservation area. So, you know, we don't want to have that scenario. So, so that's another reason why we thought putting it in that area would be an improvement. Hopefully that will look like an improvement when we resubmit or submit a new application. So then there was also the suggestion for a natural surface path kind of in a ring around the houses. And the applicant kind of considers this unnecessary because with such a small number of residents, they can take a walk in the woods. They don't need a path to do that. And maintaining the path might make it a little difficult for the HOA to not run afoul of conservation easement restrictions. You know, they're not supposed to be cutting trees and undergrowth that pops up in the path. And, you know, what if they're out there cutting, you know, people can make mistakes. So it's cleaner just to say, don't do anything out there, you know, unless there's something, a hazard of some kind. And it also could invite unauthorized use by the public, which might make people uneasy in their houses. So for those reasons, the applicant is not inclined to put in the path.
Reasonable.
I think those are all the questions we have. So we'll just need to have, so maybe our meeting on Tuesday isn't going to be that long.
Great. Yeah, so as you know, this is a concept plan, so this plan is effectively over after this meeting. But we will be meeting with you a week from today as a pre-application meeting for a future preliminary and site plan under the cluster method.
Did I miss anything that we should talk about?
No, thanks.
Anybody on staff have anything you want to raise while we're here?
I'll bring up stormwater management. This is Mark Etheridge. I just want to make sure we all understand this is not a stormwater concept, and we haven't seen details for your stormwater approach for the sketch, obviously. But what we're going to be looking for is full stormwater management compliance. You have to have at least an inch of PE through ESD practices to look at structural practices, Chapter 3 structural practices. And once you do that, we can consider going to those practices. I'm saying this because of your stormwater parcel out here, which looks like at least a Chapter 3 practice with a larger drainage area. Want to make sure we're on the same page on what's required for stormwater before you move into a more formal submission for stormwater management. Because if you can't provide stormwater, we wouldn't be able to support the subdivision. So I'm going to make sure everybody's looking at the same stuff. Happy to meet with you guys to talk about the sketch separately in more detail. If you'd like to set up a meeting with me, that's fine. We can get somebody on the phone with you. I just want to bring that up.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, that'll definitely be a sort of another constraint you're dealing with, so I encourage you to get ahead of that.
Thank you, Mark. You guys want to ask Mark anything now or have a separate meeting when you've got more of an idea of your concept?
Mark, would this be a revision to the approved stormwater management concept, or are we just doing a totally new stormwater management concept?
If it's a new preliminary plan number, it'll be a new concept. If it's the same preliminary plan number, then it'll be a revision.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do an amendment. I don't see any reason to do a new application unless staff has some reason why. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me to get a new number.
Yeah, we'll tie it to that number is what I'm saying. So if it's the same number, it's be a revision.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Have you looked at the grading required? My understanding was that the approved plan, that the reason for it not moving forward was the amount of grading required. And I'm wondering if this design actually has reduce the amount of cut and fill enough?
You want to answer that, Brandon?
I believe so. We can have steeper slopes with a driveway as opposed to a private or public road.
Okay.
And I think you've already taken it to an estimator who's come up with the quantities.
Told me it's doable.
It's doable.
Because we were talking, between $2.5 and $3 million. And that was a few years ago, so it would be worse now. So this is my only chance.
Great. Just want to make sure we're approving something that'll get built this time.
Yes.
Good.
Anything else? Nothing else from us.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.